everybody, it's Emily, and I thought it was high time for another garden update. I thought you might want to see what my garden looks like pretty much typically toward the end of summer. So let's go. Here's my asparagus patch. I figured that I could continue harvesting asparagus into June because I've had new asparagus come up, as recently as a few days. Here's one, look. So I could have probably harvested twice the asparagus that I did this year. Is this eight plants or 9? I think it's 9 plants here, and then I have 2 more over there. We'll get to there in a minute. Remember what I said about in my last video where I talked about my melons? How I thought the earthworm castings were helping this plant do so great. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this cantaloupe in a pot has developed the exact same fungus that the previous cantaloupe in a pot got. Now, it got a lot bigger before it developed the fungus than the previous one did. But there are no melons here, and an attempt here, it's going to die. It's just going to shrivel and die off. Because you can see it's brown on the end. It's not supposed to be that way. That's not going to turn into a melon. I do have 2. I'm going to double my harvest from this melon plant than I did the first one in the pot. Because look, I have 2 melons. In case you missed that video, my first melon in a pot only had 1 fruit. Now we're going to check out the other melon. Remember, this melon was so much smaller than the one in the pot? Check it out. And there are lots of, I counted 4 or 5 little babies growing. And I mean baby babies. They could shrivel up and fall off, but right now they look healthy. But here's where it's actually planted. This is where the roots are. Sorry, I know you're hearing all sorts of that leaf crunching noise. And this is how far it's spread. I keep having to move the vines so that they won't get up here and climb onto the bird netting. And this is how far out it's spread down there. And look at the leaves. Now there is sign of maybe something going on, I don't know. But I believe for the moment, my melon in the ground planted in amended soil is doing better than my cantaloupe in the pot. Exact same variety of melon, for those of you who don't know. I am done trying to grow melons in a pot. From now on, into the ground they go. Check out my sweet potatoes. Oh my gosh, vines came way over here. They got away from me. Look at that. Look at that. These vines are from a potato that's way over there. Now, I know these vines look super high. It looks super lush in there. Let me walk around. Oh, by the way, here's the one in the pot. Now I have to water it more often because remember, this is a single potato. Look at all the foliage that have come out of a single potato, a single sweet potato, buried in leaves. So I have to water it more often. I'm not doing a fantastic job. You can tell by the lighter green color of the leaves. But oh well, it's an experiment. I want to see how it does. But here's my main sweet potato patch. The reason, so here's my hand, right? Okay, here's my hand. Okay, so the foliage goes way up to there. It's over 1 foot high. But the reason is that I had Jerry enclose my sweet potato patch in chicken wire so I could do this. So a lot of this foliage is foliage that I have forced to double back and grow back inside the chicken wire. Because if you don't do something, you either have to have a place where you don't mind it just being taken over by sweet potatoes, or you have to have some sort of trellising. But sweet potatoes will not trellis themselves on purpose like, say, red Malabar spinach vines will do. Red Malabar spinach vines, cucumbers, pole beans, they look for something to climb. Sweet potatoes just want to trail on the ground, so you have to force them. But like, I mean, it's, to me, this is higher than waist high in here. It's crazy. It's insane. I'm going to show you the blackberries real quick, what a mess they look like, so that you can notice the difference when I clean them up. This is the only place in the garden I haven't thoroughly weeded because it's just too hard right now. If I prune blackberries right now, they're just going to grow back. I need to wait until mid-November to prune them. So in November is when I'm going to untrellis them all, prune them back, and I'm going to cut some down. I'm going to make sure they're at least 18 inches between each plant. And then I'm going to get up all the weeds that haven't been frozen if we haven't had a frost by then. I'm going to get up all the weeds. I'm going to cover everything with cardboard. So hopefully I'll have fewer weeds next year. But I'm going to get this all cleaned up so I actually can be able to see weeds next year and get them out and not let them go crazy. But I want you to notice how cleaner the rest of my garden looks. I'm proud of it. I got this. These two actually look like they're filled with dirt. They're not. It's mostly composted material. But there was some compost, a pile of compost from the keyhole bed that we were going to create, and I changed my mind. And so I put all that compost on top, and I got it all flat. So I need to get some more carrots planted here. But yeah, these are the only red Malabar spinach vines left that are not in the garden. I dug up all the rest of them. This used to be a whole mess of weeds in red Malabar spinach. Cleaned it up, got it out of my kiwis. And there used to be other weeds here, and weeds over there. Weeds everywhere. There's another zinnia growing. See that? That was just a little baby the last time I looked at it. I need to get this lamb's quarter out of the pot. I keep forgetting about it. And, okay, here we go to the SIP bed with the tomatoes. Notice something missing? Yep. This is what I start doing around this time of year, close to, end of August, beginning of September, as I start to decide whether there's plants worth keeping. The yellow pear tomatoes, all the tomatoes were splitting. I mean, even the green ones, they were just not doing well at all, and they made a mess. Remember the mess that was here, the jungle? I mean, it was no longer a productive jungle. It was just not working. So I got rid of the 3 yellow pear tomatoes. I'm left with 2 cherries and the Principe Borghese. I need to cut this here with the kiwi has decided to vine in with the tomatoes and connect. I need to cut that too, but yep, looking a lot cleaner. Now I can actually, oh look, I was going to show you this. Aha. See if we can find it. It's up here now, I think. Where did it go? Here it is. Ta-da! A green bean. This is a pole bean that I planted last spring. Thank you very much. See, I think it's all from one plant. They're just trying to go everywhere. Let me show you back here. This used to be a mess of weeds. I mean, a big mess. This is where the compost was from the keyhole bed. The keyhole bed compost that I filled the giant smart pots with. But this used to be a really high, horrible mess of weeds. Cleaned it up, covered everything up, so hopefully things can't go back next year. And new project. Da-da-da! This is going to be a hoop house. It's a hinged hoop house. Did you see the hinges? Got the idea off a guy from YouTube. But basically you just build a frame to sit up on top of your bed. Attach a couple hinges. And then you attach one, is this a 1/2-inch PVC pipe. Attach your things. He zip tied them to the bar going across the top. And then we've got a handle for lifting. And so this is going to serve 2 purposes. Initially, we're going to cover it. We've bought some more beetle netting. We're going to cover it with beetle netting. So all my greens that I'm going to plant next month don't get eaten up. But the grasshoppers around here do not die until like the end of December, until it's been cold. I mean, like freezing or below for several nights. That's when they finally start to dissipate, you kind of disappear. But so I'm going to have to protect my greens. So we're going to put beetle netting on this, and then I've got some plastic that I'm going to cover it if it gets really, really cold like it did last winter, where it would even kill off the really cold hardy plants like kale. I mean, 4 degrees I think would kill off kale. So this is going to be, yeah, protected from bugs and protected from the cold. I still have some weeds and stuff back there. I want a little bit of natural habitat to make the lizards happy, and maybe the the beneficial insects. I don't want it totally clear of weeds, so spaces that I don't care about, I'm letting things grow. And this prickly pear cactus puts out some really pretty blossoms in the spring. I mean, they're beautiful. So I don't want to get rid of that. Here's my other SIP bed. By the way, yes, I did try. I actually filled this reservoir after I got rid of the 3 pear tomatoes. See how long it would last. It's still only lasting maybe 3.5 days. So I'm going to continue to top water. These tomatoes are still thirsty. So these are three. Count them 3 red Malabar spinach vines. I haven't even been picking the ones that are growing in the ground. Haven't needed to. They're overwhelming my peppers, so I'm going to not grow red Malabar spinach. Red Malabar spinach needs to have poles like pole beans. They need to have poles that they can go up and not be tempted to climb on other people. This is a typical site for the end of August for cucumbers. Of course, as you may or may not know, I had black beetles consuming leaves. That's why these are so empty looking. But yes, it has powdery mildew. It's taking over the plant. The cucumbers that are growing are looking pretty pale. They're not supposed to be that pale color, so I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to tolerate the existence of this plant. But I mean, it still is producing some. That's a decent one. And here's the bait alpha. Wow, that got bleached, didn't it? I discovered I had aphids a few days ago. I discovered there were aphids all over. You can see that, maybe see the dead bodies. There's probably still there's an ant, so there might still be living aphids. But I sprayed with a mixture of liquid castile soap and hydrogen peroxide. Now this already did have powdery mildew, but the leaves got burned from the hydrogen peroxide. I don't know if it's the hydrogen peroxide, and it's extremely diluted. It's like 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. But I think maybe it's the hydrogen peroxide and then the exposure to the heat of the sun that causes the leaves to burn. But that's why this cucumber is bleached, because from the hydrogen peroxide. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, once again, I mean, aphids at the end of the year, not a shock. You know, I usually don't have cucumbers much past the beginning of September, so whatever I get from now on from either of these plants is just going to be a bonus. I'm not disappointed or going, oh no, I'm a failure. I'm not a failure. It's just the way it is. You know, aphids and powdery mildew by the end of August, totally normal. But I'm still harvesting. This is still producing, so I'm just going to see how much longer it goes. So I didn't really talk much about the peppers in the garden, but I've been harvesting. You know, every few days I come out and cut some peppers. Check out this one. Grasshoppers don't do that. Grasshoppers, I just discovered that this morning. I was like, that's not a grasshopper. Look at all the missing leaves. Grasshoppers will like do this, okay? They'll put a hole in a leaf. Or they might eat off, you know, the side of a leaf. They don't just completely eat a leaf down to nothing. They don't eat half of a baby pepper. So I saw this morning. I go, what on earth? And I looked, and you won't believe what I found. Right over here, chomping away, a tomato. That's what they're called, a tomato hornworm. Yes, a tomato hornworm on my pepper. I've never seen that before. Other than that, these are doing okay. A lot of the peppers are developing, from these plants, are developing bad spots, and I don't know if it's because I'm overwatering them or what. I mean, but they're okay. It's not horrible. It's not the greatest. Again, you know, I really prefer growing in the ground. Just things do better. Even though the SIP beds are technically like giant pots, you know, the things growing in the SIP beds are still better than the things growing in the smart pots. But speaking of tomatoes, it's like the tomato hornworm was almost to a tomato. Remember, this is a volunteer that I've watered. I've watered it twice. I've watered this thing twice all summer. Now, we did have over 7 inches of rain 3 weeks ago over the space of 3 days. I kid you not. I need to go through and harvest. I've got some, and there's tomatoes back there behind that. See, look at all those tomatoes. And some of them are just rotting because I keep forgetting this plant is here. But it's gone crazy. It's huge. Look at it. Look at it. I haven't fertilized it. I have not hardly watered it at all. And if we hadn't had that over 7 inches of rain, if we just had like 1 inch, it would still be doing this great. I know that because of how great it was doing before during our 3-week drought. So again, these are I have 2 asparagus plants here and there. But yeah, love those volunteers. While I'm passing by, here's that apple. I think it's grown a teeny tiny bit since you last saw it. That's it, okay, dude. It's almost September. That one apple is hardly, but anyway. We'll try to do better next year. Here is my butternut squash. I figure, here, let me go to where I planted it. I planted the plant right here, okay? And it's going over there to the mulberries, and over there to that goomy, and over, I had to turn it because it was, heading up that fence there with the bird netting. Don't want to do that, so I had to turn the vines. But it's headed over there. Now it's headed toward that fig that came back. Alright, and then we got a vine going out there, and these vines. And even though I haven't had much more than ants pollinating, and you can see that we have a fungus here going on too, but look, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not mature, but it'll get there because you can tell how big it is. It's going to get there. 5. This will also eventually mature. I mean, there are several more that have grown past the baby stage. I think they'll grow to maturity. I don't think they'll shrivel up and fall off. And we're not huge squash eaters, so did I count this one already? I think I may have. Maybe not. But anyway, to me, that's a really good harvest. I have not hardly watered them. Now, this is, there's a lot of sawdust and wood chips here in mulching this area. I've only watered once or twice a week, like depending on how big the vine is, a ½ gallon to a gallon at a time. I think I've unpurposely fertilized it once just because I keep forgetting. But I've pretty much neglected this squash plant, and no squash bugs. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Where are the squash bugs? I don't know if they can't get in through all this protection we have here, or maybe the strawberries it's growing among, covers up their smell. But this is awesome. Wow. So I'm very pleased with the way this experiment turned out. So there you go, a tour of what my garden typically looks like toward the end of summer. And soon it will be, I'll be growing greens. I'm going to get those started indoors, and then hopefully in about a month start getting them planted out. so we can be at least self-sufficient in greens if nothing else. So anyway, thanks for coming along with me on this little tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you for the next video. In the meantime, take care and be well.